Hi there, Mark Cunningham here, and in this video we're going to do a quick and simple example of how to set up and manage a project in Xero Projects so you can understand the basic workflow before we move on to more in-depth lessons in this series of videos. If you'd like to watch the other videos in this series, check out the link to the playlist in the description below. So what we'll do is we'll create a new project and then we'll add some tasks and estimated costs. After that, we'll add some actual time and expenses for the project, and then we'll send a time and expenses invoice to the client. After that, we'll add some more actual time and expenses, and then we'll finish off by sending the client a final invoice. So let's go into the demo company now and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do in the demo company here is add a new project. So we'll just go to Projects and All Projects in the menu. Okay, so what we've got here is the main project screen that we've seen before, and we've got a couple of projects here in progress, but we're going to just start our own new one. So if you go to the New Project button, you can start either a draft project or an in progress project. So what I might do is I might just start a draft one because we don't actually have any draft ones in here, so we can just see how that works. Okay. So you'll get this pop-up, and then all you need to do is just fill out some details. So I'll just put a contact in first, and this works the same way as contacts in any other function of Xero. So you can either pick an existing contact through the contacts list here, and you can see we've got lots of them set up in the demo company, or you can type the name of a contact in there if it's not in here already, if it's a new contact. So that's what I'll do. I'll just type in a new contact. Okay, so it's just the Main Street Cafe, and then you just need to click on Add New Contact. Okay, so there's the company name, and you just need to put in a few contact details here, first name, last name, and an email address. So I'll just put that in now. Okay, so I've just put in a bit of information there. It's just Jane Connors, and the email is jane@mainstreetcafe.com, and I'll just hit save. Alright, so now we've got the contact in. The next thing we need to do is give the project a name. And what we're going to do is rebuild a website. So I'll just call it Website Rebuild, just like that. And then we'll just pick a date for the deadline. So just click anywhere there. And I'll just put it ahead a little bit. I'll put, say, March 31st. So you can just go ahead and pick a date a few weeks into the future if you like. Now the next thing that we get to do if we want to is we can put in an estimate. So it's not a bad idea to put in an estimate because it gives you a target to work towards, and it's also something that you can use for a quote or an invoice, which we'll have a look at soon. So you can calculate from tasks and estimated expenses if you tick on that box there, and you can see that's grayed out that box below. Or you can just put your own amount in there. You can type an amount, and you can see that that says excluding tax. So in this case, that's excluding GST. So what we're going to do for this project is we're going to calculate our estimate from the tasks and the estimated expenses that we're going to put in shortly. So we'll just check that box, and now we can hit create. Okay, so I'll just go back to all projects for a second, and I'll just show you that in the in progress tab, our new project is not here because we created it as a draft, so it will be over here. So you can see it there, and we'll just go back into it. All right, and I'll just show you that there's not much here to look at now because we didn't actually put an estimate in there. That's going to be derived from our tasks and expenses. We obviously haven't invoiced the client anything. We haven't put any actual time or expenses in yet. And so all we've got really at the moment is the deadline of the 31st of March. Okay, so just down here, it just says to plan our project next. So it says to add the tasks that you plan to do and the estimated expenses that you plan to incur. And that's exactly what we're going to do next. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add some tasks and estimated expenses to our project. Now before we do that, I just want to go and check on something. So if we go to projects and staff cost rates, we'll just go in and we'll just change the staff cost rate here for our one staff member to $50 per hour. So that's the amount of money that we're estimating that staff member costs us per hour for them to work on this project. So that includes their salaries, wages, pensions, and a share of overheads, as we saw in an earlier lesson. So I'll just click on save. Okay, and then we'll go back to the project. So it's a draft, and it's that one there, the website rebuild. Okay, so now we can start adding our tasks and our expenses. So all you need to do is click on the add drop-down button at the top, and then choose task. And then we're going to start off by giving our first task a name, which is going to be initial meeting. Okay, and then we're going to say that we're estimating that it will take 2 hours. And once we've put that in, we need to work out a basis on which we're going to charge the client. So there's a little drop-down menu here where you can choose either hourly rate, fixed price, or non-chargeable. So for this one, let's choose hourly rate. And we'll put that one in at $80 an hour. Okay, so we've got an estimated amount there of $160 for this particular task. So we'll click on save. Okay, so now we've got an estimate here for the total job that we're doing for the client of $160. So we've just got that one task in there, and that's what makes up that total estimate. Let's go and have a quick look now at the profitability report. So on this profitability report, we can see that we don't have much on here yet. All we've got is that estimated time that we put in there that we're going to invoice the client eventually. We don't actually have anything else in there yet because we haven't put any other estimates in, and we haven't put any actual expenses in. All right, so if we go back to task and expenses, and we'll just put in our next task. So we'll just go add and task. Okay, and this one is going to be a homepage rebuild. And we're estimating that that's going to take us 10 hours. And once again, we'll have that in as an hourly rate at $80 an hour. And now we'll click on save. Okay, so now the estimate for the job has gone up to $960. So you can see that it's basing the estimate on the tasks and the expenses that we put in, just like we chose when we opened up the project. And if we go to our report, we can see there's really nothing on there still except for that $960. All right, so let's keep adding our tasks. We'll do the next one. And that one is a database cleanup, and that's going to be 4 hours. Once again at $80 an hour. And then we'll do another one. And this one is redo template. All right, so that one is 8 hours. And again, $80 an hour. And then we'll do redo sales copy. And that's estimated to be 16 hours. And we'll do that one at $120 an hour. And hit save. So you can see there that you can put different hourly rates in for different tasks. And then finally we'll do a handover. And that one we'll estimate it at 1 hour, but we'll make it fixed price. And we'll just make that $200. So we'll just say that that's something that we always charge $200 for when we hand over a website back to a client. All right, so that's going to be it for the tasks. So you can see there that we've got $4,040 as our total estimate for this job. And so what we're going to do now is add a couple of expenses. So you just need to go add and estimated expense. And for this one, we're going to say that we need to sell the client a license for their online checkout. So we need to buy the license and then sell it to them. But we're going to actually mark up the amount so we make a little profit out of it. So I'll just put in the name like so. Quantity 1, that's fine. So the cost to us is going to be $60. And what you can do if you want to mark it up is you can choose either a percentage, or you can just pass the cost on, so that doesn't mark it up at all. That will just pass on the $60. You can put a custom price in, so if you wanted to sell it to the client for say $100 flat, you can just put 100 in, or you can make it non-chargeable. So I'm just going to put in a percentage, and I'm going to make it 100%. So we're going to end up selling it to the client for $120 after we buy it for $60. So I'll click on save. And then we'll just add in another expense. And this one we'll put in as a website hosting account, like so, and we'll just say quantity 1. So we'll say the unit price is $100. And then what we'll do is we will just pass the cost on. So we won't actually mark that up at all. So that's just going to be sold for $100. Okay, so now we've got 2 expenses in there. And then finally, let's just put in something that we actually just do as non-chargeable. So we'll just put in an estimated expense. And we'll just make it, say, a site speed test. Quantity 1. And then the cost, we'll just say that it actually does cost us $10. And then we'll just put that in as non-chargeable. So we're just giving them a freebie there. And click on save. Okay, so that's it. So now we've got a couple of expenses down the bottom, one of which we're going to mark up. The other one is we're just going to pass on the cost, and the other one is not chargeable. And then we've got a bunch of different tasks in here that we're going to put our time to. So up the top now we have a total estimate of 4260 that we're hopefully going to end up billing the client. And then if we go to the profitability report, we can see that that 4260 is down here as well. So we haven't actually put any cost to it. We haven't invoiced anything. So all this information at the top here is still showing nil. Okay, so that's it for the estimates. Next up, we're going to start putting in some actual costs. Okay, now it's time to start adding some actual time entries and expenses into our project. So there's a few different ways you can do this for time. You can go up to the add drop down button at the top and you can click on time entry, or you can go to each of the tasks and you can go to this little drop down on the side and you can add your time that way. All right, so let's add the time in for this initial meeting. So we'll just click on there again and click on add time. Okay, and what we're going to do is we see here we've got the project and we've got the task. We can actually choose a different task there. We've got that drop down menu, but we'll do the initial meeting. So let's just put in the time. You can put a description in if you like, if you need to add some notes for yourself or for the client, you can put that in there. And then you can enter your time either as duration, or you can put start and end times in there and it will calculate the duration for you. So let's just put in duration and let's just say it actually went for 2 hours, which was our estimate in the first place. And we'll just say it occurred on today's date. Okay, and we've clicked on save. So now what we've got in the initial meeting here, you can see we set it up at 2 hours at $80 an hour. So there was a $160 estimate, and that's exactly what we've achieved here. So that's why that gray bar is completely black now. And we've got the $160 over there. And the $160 has also been added up here to the uninvoiced amount. That's also got that $200 there for the handover. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let's have a look at another time entry now. We'll do the homepage rebuild and we'll just add it this way. Okay, and you can see that that's pretty much the same thing, except you've just actually got to choose your task here. So we'll go homepage rebuild. And for this one, we'll just put a duration in of say 5 hours. And we will choose the 21st and click on save. Okay, so you can see the progress bar has moved up now. We've got 5 hours done out of the 10-hour estimate, so that progress bar is halfway up. Let's also put some time in for the database cleanup. Okay, so we'll just say that's 1 hour. But what I'll do this time is I'll put in the start and end time. So we'll just do say 0900 in the morning and 10 AM there. So that's calculated 1 hour. And we'll do it on the same day on the 20th. Okay, and then finally, I'll just put in some time for the template. Okay, so we'll just put duration again. So we'll do say 6 hours and we'll do that on the 22nd. And we'll click on save. All right, so we've got some time entries in there now, and you can see we've got an uninvoiced amount of 1320. So let's also say that we've incurred one of these expenses. So you can't actually do it from here. You've got to go up to the top here and say add expense. And we will just do the checkout license like so. And then we'll just choose the checkout license here. So that's just tracking it to that estimated expense that we put in before. The quantity is 1. The cost is 60, just like we said before. And then we'll do a 100% markup there. So we'll sell it to the client at $120. Click on save. Okay, and now that one is done. Okay, so that's that. Next up, we're going to send an invoice to the client for the time and expenses incurred so far. Okay, now it's time to send our first invoice to the client, which is going to be for the time and expenses that we've incurred so far. So if we go to invoice and we go tasks and expenses, okay, so that's brought up all of the tasks and expenses that we've incurred to date. And you can see here we've got this filter at the top here for all uninvoiced time. So you can actually change that if you like. So let's say you send invoices out every week, for example. You might be able to choose your week here, and you've also got monthly here. And if you want to, you can also put in your own date range if you click on choose range. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to include all of those hourly rate tasks. So that's all the hours that I just put in then. The fixed price task is actually a handover. So we'll uncheck that because we're not going to invoice the client for that until the end. And then the expense for the checkout license, we will pass that cost on to the client now. So we will invoice them. Okay, so there's a few options up here for your invoice as well. So you can display your hourly rate time as either tasks or time entries. So if you don't want to go and give a whole lot of time entry information, you can just put in tasks, which is what I'm going to do. And then for expenses, you can actually group them together, or you can list the individual expenses. So we've only got one anyway, so we'll just leave that as an individual expense. All right, so what we're going to end up doing is invoicing the client for $1,240, excluding GST. So we'll just click on save. Okay, so that's taken us to the normal invoicing screen. It's created an invoice for us. So you can find that in the invoices section in the menu there. And you can see there it's listed down all of those tasks that we have and the amount of time that we've allocated to those tasks so far through our time. And it's also got the unit price there, which is the hourly rate. And then down here, we've also got that checkout license, which we're passing on the cost to the client for $120 for. So in order to approve this invoice, there's just a couple of things we need to do. We just need to pick a due date. So I'll just pick the 13th of March there. And then we also need to choose some general ledger accounts. So what I'll do is I'll just put this to the sales account for each of these lines just to save some time. Obviously, if you have different accounts in your business, you can go ahead and choose them here. Okay, so I've just allocated all of these sales to the sales GL code. They all have GST on income, and that means it's added $124 worth of GST onto the bottom there, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. So now I can go ahead and approve that one. Okay, so that's an approved invoice now, which we can send to the client. But we'll just go back to projects, and we'll go into our project, which I've still got as a draft, which in fact we can click on start project now, which is something that I should have done before we actually started allocating time to it. So we can just do that now. Okay. All right, so here we are now at the main screen for this particular project. And you can see now that we've actually invoiced them $1,240, excluding tax. And it's saying that we've only got $200 there of uninvoiced time and expenses now, which is that handover meeting that we took out of the invoice. So that's all looking pretty good. We'll go over to the profitability report now. Okay, so here we can see that we've invoiced $1,240. That's actually cost us $760 to do. So the $760 is made up of the time that we've spent on the project at $50 an hour, which was the rate that we put in for the one person working on the project, and the $60 is the amount of the license that we purchased. So all up, we've spent $760 in the business on this project. We've invoiced $1,240, so far we've actually made a profit margin of $480, so that's all looking pretty good. Okay, so that's how you can add some time and expenses and send out a time and expenses invoice partway through the project. Next up, we'll look at finishing it off and we'll send a final invoice. Okay, let's finish off our project now by putting the rest of the time and expenses that go into our project. So just here on the main tasks and expenses screen for our Main Street Cafe website rebuild, we've already put a little bit of time in and we've put that one expense in and then we've sent that invoice. So let's do the rest of the time now. So we'll go and add another time entry here. In fact, before we do that, let's actually just go to time and we'll have a look at the time entries that we've done already. And you can see the dates there. So the last one that we did was on the 22nd of February. So we invoiced all of this. So we'll just assume now that we're going to continue working on the project on the 23rd of February. Okay, so let's go back to here. And we'll go add time. And for this one, for the homepage rebuild, we had budgeted 10 hours and we've done 5. So let's just say we got it exactly right. We'll do another 5 hours and we'll do that on the 23rd and click on save. Okay, so you can see the progress bar there is now full and we've done our 10 hours compared to our estimate there. All right, so the database cleanup, we estimated 4 hours and we've done 1. So let's just go in here and we'll say that we did 5 hours and we did that on the 24th. And we'll click on save. So that one's gone over time and that's why you've got that red bit there on the progress bar. So that's what happens when you go over your estimated time. And then for redo template, we budgeted 8 hours and we've done 6. Let's just assume that that's all we've had to do. So we've actually gone under budget there. And then finally down here, we've got the sales copy and we've got 16 hours there. So that's basically 2 full days. So what we'll do is we'll say we did 8 hours on the 25th and click save. And then we'll add another one and we'll say we did 9 hours on the 26th. And we'll save that. So we've just gone slightly over budget there. We've done 17 hours. And then for the handover, which was actually a fixed price for $200 and we estimated 1 hour, let's just say we did say an hour and a half on that one, and that can be on the Friday as well. All right, we'll click on save. Okay, so the time has gone over there, but that's still just going to cost the client $200 because it was a fixed price, as you can see here. So now we've just got our hosting account and site speed test. So let's just go into this. So we estimated $100 for this one. So we just need to scroll back up and go to add expense. And then we're going to choose the hosting account. And in this one, we were just going to pass the cost on. So we'll just put the expense name in here as well, like so. And we'll just say that that was $100 like we estimated. We'll pass the cost on and click on save. Okay, and then the last one, we had this site speed test. So we'll just go up to add expense, site speed test, which is non-chargeable. I'll just put the name in here again, just like that. So the cost was nothing. Click on save. Okay, and that's done. All right, so before we send the invoice, let's just have a look here. We've got $3,140 uninvoiced. We've already invoiced $1,240. And then we've got our profitability report over here. And you can see at the moment, because we haven't invoiced that 3140, it's actually showing a loss in the profit at the moment. So that will switch once we've actually done the invoice, because the way this calculation works, you can see it only regards the income as income when it's actually invoiced. But it does put all the costs up there right away. Okay, so that will change. That will come back to a profit once we do the invoice. So we'll just go back here. And next up, we'll go ahead and do that final invoice. Okay, now that we've finished working on this particular project and we've put all our time into our tasks and we've put all our expenses in as well, it's time to send the client a final tasks and expenses invoice. So we just need to go invoice, tasks and expenses. And just like before, it brings up this screen where it puts in basically everything that's uninvoiced at the moment. Now we're going to leave this one as all uninvoiced time because we want it to scoop up any time that we've done that we haven't invoiced yet. And down here we've got that fixed price handover as well. So you remember how we put in 1 hour for that one and then we actually ended up doing an hour and a half of time, but it still only cost $200 to the client because it was fixed price. So we're going to leave that one in there as well. And then finally down here we've also got this hosting account which cost us $100, and then we're passing on the cost to the client as $100, so we're not marking it up. And then we don't have that other expense in here for the side speed test because we weren't going to pass that through. That was non-chargeable. So again, you can come up to the top here and you can choose how you want these things to display on your invoices. So I'm going to leave this one as tasks, and you can group the individual expenses if you like, but we only have the one expense anyway, so that will just show up as the one line. And there's our total, excluding GST. So that all looks pretty good. So we'll just save and open the invoice. Okay, so that's just brought us into another invoice template that it's created. And you can just go down and just check on your various tasks here and make sure the right time has come through and the right charge rates as well. And then the two expenses, or the one expense down the bottom here of $100 for the hosting account, and then that fixed price meeting there for the handover of $200. So that all looks pretty good. I'll just finish this off by choosing a due date. And again, I'll just fill in the GL codes here as sales. Okay, so this is ready to go now, so we can click on approve. Okay, so now we have this invoice ready to send to the customer. We're not going to do it in this lesson because this is not really an invoicing lesson, but that's all saved and ready to go. So we'll go back to projects and we'll go back into our project. Okay, so now we can see the time and expenses that were available to be invoiced. We've invoiced them all now, the 4380. We've gone a little bit over our estimate because some of our time went a little bit over. And now if we have a look at our profitability report, okay, we can see the full picture now. So we've invoiced 4380 excluding GST. The costs to us of the time that we put into it at $50 an hour, plus those couple of expenses that we paid for, and then we passed most of them on. That's all added up to 2285. So the profit in the end is $2095. So a very healthy profit there on our website rebuild. And just down the bottom, you've got a few other statistics as well. You've got a profit margin there, and you've also got the total time recorded. Okay, so that's how you can do a project from start to finish. The last thing I'll do is just go back to the project. And then we'll just go to the little menu here, and we'll change it to closed because we've actually finished the project. Okay, so that doesn't show up in progress anymore. It's over here in closed, and that's all done. So now you know how to do a simple project from start to finish in Xero. In the following lessons in the series, we're going to get a bit more in depth into Xero Projects.